Right now on Morning News Now, J.D. Vance in the spotlight. The Ohio senator introducing himself to America at the Republican National Convention for the first time since being named Donald Trump's vice presidential pick.
Mr. President, I will never take for granted the trust you have put in me. Together, we will put the citizens of America first, whatever the color of their skin. We will, in short, make America great again.
All this, of course, just days after that assassination attempt against the former president. Now we're learning more about the hours before it happened. We have team coverage as Trump prepares to make his address on this final day of the RNC. Also developing this morning, President Biden testing positive for COVID at a critical moment as pressure grows from within his own party for him to end his bid for re-election. More on his condition and what it could mean for his campaign. Plus, will he stay or will he go? The future of Senator Bob Menendez under the microscope following his conviction in his federal corruption trial. We'll bring you the latest from Capitol Hill. And the nominees are, that's right, this year's Emmy nods have been announced with some fan favorites coming out on top. We will run you through the biggest winners, plus the nominees already making history, showing you a couple of them there on your screen.
And, of course, the snubs, because I have a few.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I haven't heard this yet. I can't wait.
All right. Good to have you with us on this Thursday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We are going to get started this morning with the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where former President Trump will officially accept the party's nomination later tonight.
Last night, it was his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who took center stage. The 39-year-old, a relative political newcomer, introduced himself to a national audience just 2 days after becoming Mr. Trump's pick for VP. Senator Vance laid out his vision for a potential second Trump administration to his fellow Republicans.
That's the Republican Party of the next 4 years. United in our love for this country and committed to free speech and the open exchange of ideas. I stand here humbled, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
We are also learning new details this morning about last weekend's assassination attempt against the former president. According to sources familiar with a briefing given to U.S. senators on Wednesday, the gunman who opened fire aimed at Mr. Trump was reported as a suspicious person and photographed 1 hour before that shooting at that rally in Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, President Biden is back in Delaware today after testing positive for COVID while attending campaign events in Las Vegas. Mr. Biden's symptoms included a runny nose and a cough. The president also tested positive for COVID back in 2020.
We have team coverage ahead this morning, including the latest on the attempted assassination and more on President Biden's health. But let's begin with NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard from the RNC in Milwaukee. We're also joined by NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. Good morning to both of you. Vaughn, walk us through Senator Vance's speech. What is making headlines this morning?
For J.D. Vance, this was very much of an introduction of himself to the country. Of course, he wrote Hillbilly Elegy, which was the best-selling novel. But in many ways, this was a speech to a national audience in which he detailed his upbringing and poverty in the Rust Belt and his mother, who has been sober for 10 years. He helped share her story of once being addicted to opioid. He weaved his own personal story with that of where the country finds itself and why he has turned to Donald Trump and to join this ticket in sort of a populist message here. I want to let you listen to a little bit more of J.D. Vance's speech.
President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. A country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next vice president of the United States of America. I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
J.D. Vance focused on the need to increase the number of jobs, particularly manufacturing jobs in the United States. He called out illegal immigration, suggesting that the millions of individuals who have made their way to the country undocumented over the years caused a housing crisis, caused a jobs crisis, everything which led to increase in inflation. For J.D. Vance, well, he is very specific on the policy front. He also is calling for unity And this was a moment here for him to also cast that generational divide, noting that when Joe Biden was in the U.S. Senate, he voted in favor of NAFTA when J.D. Vance himself was just in the 4th grade.
John, let's bring you in here. In his speech, Vance shared his background, as Vaughn just told us, and branded President Biden as a career politician who had been in Washington since before he was born, as Vaughn is pointing out here. This was a big moment for Vance. What stood out to you as he introduced himself to voters? Tell us some of the policy stuff also that he got into.
Yeah, I think very much, Savannah, that if you're looking at what stands out, there's a combination here, of course, of the biographical, the vice presidential candidate introducing himself as Vaughn said, to America, but also a little bit of the attack dog. That's part of the role of the vice presidential candidate, is to risk his own reputation a little bit to attack on behalf of the presidential candidate. In this case, Donald Trump, who, of course, for everybody who's watched him, probably didn't need anybody to do any attacking for him. But, you know, look, you saw Vance talk about what he saw as a little bit of libertarianism, I think. You know, talking about freedom of speech and, you know, supporting the free exchange of ideas. I'm sure there are Democrats who quibble with him on what his solutions would be. Certainly something he talked about there.
Vaughn, let's look ahead and talk about the final day of the convention. We're going to hear from former President Trump, the first time he's spoken in public since last weekend's assassination attempt. There have been these reports. We're going to hear a different message, a different tone than we would have heard perhaps before what happened Saturday. Of course, yesterday we did start to hear Republicans use that stage to attack Democrats a little bit more. So what can we expect today?
Right, I was talking to a senior advisor to the former president yesterday, and he indicated to me that Donald Trump has been dictating his speech and what he wanted to convey, suggesting that it will be powerful, it'll be beautiful, were the words of this advisor, and reflective. This, for Donald Trump, is a moment 3 months out where he sees himself politically in a strong position, strong in polling across the country and in key battleground states, and an opportunity coming off of Saturday, one where he had a near-death experience, one that I know you guys, we have not been through ourselves, in which the advisor suggested that reshaped the way that he was going to deliver this speech, rewriting it and wanting to focus on a vision of unity. Of course, for Donald Trump, he is somebody who has repeatedly called for what you could call retribution against his perceived political enemies and the prosecutors who ultimately charged him on criminal charges on 4 indictments over the last year. And so the question here is, just 3 months out, to what extent did this weekend's attempted assassination truly change his approach? Or for Donald Trump, is unity a matter of finding a way to beat Joe Biden and having these charges against him either dropped, like we saw in Florida, the classified documents case earlier this week, and all but forcing Democrats to essentially end their own criticisms and rhetoric towards him?
John, sort of seems, as Vaughn's laying out, that former President Trump has at least some momentum on his side right now. Walk us through his remarks tonight. If we do hear that tonal shift, as we are anticipating, where does that mean the campaign goes from here? Do you think that sticks with 4 months until the election?
I don't think there's any question that Donald Trump has momentum right now. You're looking right now at a Democratic Party that is very much you know, to sort of use a cliche here, in disarray. There are many Democrats that are asking asking Joe Biden to get out of the campaign right now. That is not going on the Republican side. So if you project forward a little bit, if Joe Biden is able to continue as the Democratic nominee, he's going to have a lot of work to do to organize and unify his party. We're looking right now at a Republican Party that is pretty unified behind Trump. Our country is very polarized. You could expect in most elections at this point they're going to be pretty close between Democrats and Republicans. But I don't think there's any question that Donald Trump is at you know, sort of at a high point right now, and Democrats are scrambling and at a low point.
All right, Vaughn and John, thank you both. Appreciate it. We're going to have much more from the Republican National Convention throughout the day here on NBC News Now. We'll bring you former President Trump's remarks live. Our coverage gets underway tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific time on NBC News Now and on NBC.
Well, as Republicans wrap up their convention in Milwaukee, as we mentioned, President Biden was forced to cancel his campaign event in Las Vegas yesterday after announcing he's tested positive for COVID.
Mr. Biden returned to Delaware last night. In a statement, the White House says that he will self-isolate but continue to carry out his duties until he is fully recovered. The president had a full schedule in the critical battleground state of Nevada this week, including a conference for Latino advocates. This was the moment attendees were notified the president had to cancel.
Regrettably, I was just on the phone with President Biden, and he shared his deep disappointment at not being able to join us this afternoon. The president has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID.
NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa joins us now from Delaware, where the president is self-isolating. Ali, good morning. What are we learning this morning about the president's diagnosis? How serious are the symptoms?
Yeah, Savannah, good morning. The president waking up at his Rehoboth Beach, Delaware home this morning as he begins recovering from COVID-19, as you mentioned, after cutting his trip to Battleground, Nevada short yesterday. We saw him boarding Air Force One, deboarding Air Force One yesterday, walking very slowly, but the president telling reporters that travel with him that he was feeling good, at one point giving them a thumbs up. And yesterday, the president's doctor, who he travels with regularly, said in a statement that he's suffering from upper respiratory symptoms that include a runny nose, a non-productive cough, just general malaise. He says he felt okay for the first event of his day in Nevada, but given that he was not feeling better, point-of-care testing for COVID-19 was conducted and the results were positive for the COVID-19 virus. His doctor adding that he is taking the drug Paxlovid to help with those symptoms and to prevent this from becoming a more serious illness. But of course, with the president's age, being 81 years old, we expect him to be monitored very closely in the coming days, Savannah.
I mean, yeah, Ali, Democrats were already worried about the president's health and his age before the COVID announcement. And the president did touch on that issue in an interview last night before his diagnosis. Let's listen to that.
If there had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate.
Still, these calls for him to step aside are growing. Now, Congressman Adam Schiff, running for the open Senate seat in California, he's joining the chorus. And we're also learning about Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's meeting with the president over the weekend. What more can you tell us about that? And can Mr. Biden afford to be off the campaign trail right now?
Yeah, this really could not come at a worse time for the president. As you mentioned, his travel, his schedule has ramped up as he tries to prove Democrats, to try to prove to the American people that he can stay in this race, that he can serve another 4 years in office if reelected. Of course, with this diagnosis for the next few days, he is not able to do that. And of course, we are seeing these growing calls from Democratic lawmakers for him to step aside, for him to pass the torch. Over 20 Democratic lawmakers now doing that. You mentioned Congressman Adam Schiff, a longtime Biden ally, coming out yesterday and making that call. And now we're learning more about the president's face-to-face private meeting that he had with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a longtime friend of the president's. They met here in Rehoboth Beach last weekend, and we're told that Schumer, during that meeting, shared with the president polling data that shows potential vulnerabilities down the ballot if the president does stay at the top of the Democratic ticket. Now, a senior White House official is saying that despite this diagnosis, the president's intention to stay in this race is not changing. But of course, with this mounting pressure, you have to think how the president is weighing this decision in the coming days, guys, especially in the wake of this diagnosis.
Absolutely. Ali, thank you so much.
This morning, we're getting a new timeline of events leading up to the attempted assassination of former President Trump on Saturday.
Multiple sources tell NBC News that the FBI and Secret Service told senators at a briefing yesterday that police identified the gunman as suspicious an hour before the shooting. They added that the Pennsylvania State Police only notified, though, the Secret Service 20 minutes before the incident happened. The information comes as a new video appears to show the shooter walking around at the rally before Mr. Trump took the stage. Wyoming's Republican Senator John Barrasso blasted the new details provided in yesterday's briefing and called on the Secret Service director to step down.
It was a cover-your-ass briefing by the Secret Service. The director of the Secret Service needs to go. That shooter was identified as a suspect, suspicious character, a full 1 hour before the shooting occurred. Had a rangefinder, a backpack, and then they lost sight of him and never really followed up on that. This was an hour before.
NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now. Julia, walk us through what else we're learning from yesterday's briefing by the FBI and Secret Service to senators. What were some of the key moments leading up to the shooting?
Well, we should point out when he talks about this, he talks about 1 hour before. That's when Pennsylvania State Police and other local authorities identified him, in part because there were people in the crowd, rally goers, near those magnetometers where they're being scanned to enter the rally, who said, look, he looks suspicious. He was pacing around. They did identify that he had a rangefinder, but Secret Service found out 20 minutes before the shooting, and it was at 5:53 that they identified the snipers in the area. Still, Trump was allowed to take the stage at 6:02, and as we know, those shots were fired at 6:11. So really, this fuller timeline that members of Congress were able to get in the briefing yesterday did nothing to assuage fears that Secret Service had this handled or that this was a one-off thing. It seemed as though they really delegated far too much responsibility to the local law enforcement. And you have to remember, this is a pretty rural area. The sniper team that was supposed to be inside this building, and that's what the Secret Service director initially said, then changed yesterday to say they were in an adjacent building. That sniper team was not Secret Service. They all came from outside a local law enforcement team, a unit that was put together from various counties and townships. But the Secret Service actually put that roof, that building, outside of their secure perimeter, even though it was less than 200 yards away from where Trump would be speaking. So I think we're going to start to hear more calls like what we heard from Senator Barrasso. We're also hearing from police unions who are upset about the way the situation was handled even after the fact. They think too much blame went to local police, and really a reckoning here with why Secret Service outsources so much responsibility to locals. Shortly after the event, they were saying, oh, they know that local police know the area better than we do, but they're not trained in the same way that Secret Service would be to secure a protectee. So a lot of questions and perhaps a lot of change will come, especially after Congress doesn't just ask these questions, but we know of other multiple independent reviews that are also going on to try to get to the bottom of why these decisions were made, and should they have stepped in and not allowed the president to take the stage with the information that they had on the suspicious person at the time.
Julia, you mentioned that discrepancy about the team that we were told was staged within that building, not on top of it, I think was the first question. But now we've learned, as you mentioned, that it was actually not that building. It was an adjacent building. Now we have this new timeline about the gunman being someone of note to authorities in the area. What are we hearing from the Secret Service about how they're defending some of the decisions that were made? And as we hear what sounds, at least to a regular person, like some failures in the system.
Yeah, again, they keep pointing back to the fact that this fell out of their secure perimeter. They say that, you know, if they wanted to expand this to 1,000 yards, they would be in people's neighborhoods. But this is far shorter than that. Another answer we're getting a lot is we'll have an independent investigation get to the bottom of that. They cannot answer the question, for example, of why Trump was allowed to take the stage and whether or not that was a breach of protocol. Of course, at the time, they didn't know the suspicious person was armed. We understand they knew he had a backpack and a rangefinder, which is used to measure the distance when you're trying to set up a shot from a sniper position, but they didn't know that he had a rifle at that time. So a lot of these questions right now aren't being answered because these independent reviews are ongoing. But I don't think that that would slow down the timeline for pressure to build on Director Sheetal for her to have some really sharp answers, especially next week when she goes before two committees. And if not, we're probably going to see more pressure on her to step down from her position.
Julia, no doubt we're going to see a lot of investigations here. That now includes the DHS Inspector General opening an investigation. Real quick, what can we expect with that?
Well, the DHS Inspector General actually just opened a second investigation yesterday, Joe, not only to Secret Service planning overall, but specifically yesterday into the counter-sniper team preparedness. They want to know why Secret Service snipers that are paid by taxpayers, so well trained to take out threats just like this one of someone on a roof firing at a protectee, why they weren't able to take him out. Did it have something to do with the slope of the roof? Were they not able to see him? Was it a communication failure? Does it have something having more to do with the planning, that they outsourced this very vulnerable spot. As we've reported here at NBC, that very roof was identified in a planning meeting as a vulnerability. So why didn't the sniper team do more to prepare and protect against a possibility of a shooter from there? A lot of questions, but we are getting a little more color here, a little more understanding of the timeline. Also learning that the sniper spent a few days before the event, the shooter, to scope the area. A lot more details, not necessarily anything more assuring, but definitely likely to put more pressure on this agency to try to explain themselves or make some big changes in the coming weeks and months ahead.
All right, Julia, thank you so much.
Well, Senator Bob Menendez is facing mounting calls from within his own party to resign just days after being found guilty on all counts in his federal corruption trial. Now the question is, will he resign or will Senate Democrats move to expel him? Two people directly familiar with behind-the-scenes conversations have told NBC News that Menendez has been notifying his allies of his intentions to step down.
But there's some confusion here. Menendez later told CBS News on Wednesday that he has not resigned or spoken to, quote, so-called allies, adding it seems like an effort to try to force him into a statement. He did not respond to our requests for comments.
Joining us now for more on this is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. Ali, good morning. So bring us up to speed here. What do we know about what Menendez has been saying following his conviction, and tell us what we've heard from what the senator later referred to as his so-called allies in that statement that Joe just read.
Well, look, we saw Menendez right outside the court. He said that he was going to file an appeal on this. No surprise there. We've seen the way that he has consistently said that these charges are false. Of course, the jury found him guilty on all of those. But we're learning from yesterday's conversations with allies of the senator that he has been making calls to tell them that he intends to resign. Now, that doesn't mean that he has resigned. It doesn't mean that that is imminent. There's no timeline on that. But our sources are telling us that that is his intention. Of course, Menendez then came out in the hours after NBC News filed that reporting to say that he's not talking to so-called allies in his words, but that doesn't mean that this resignation isn't imminent. And of course, there are other senators too. You referenced the fact that pressure's building on this on Capitol Hill. Many of Menendez's own colleagues, even before this verdict, wanted him to resign. Now in the aftermath of the verdict, they say they absolutely want him out. And if he doesn't do it, they will move to expel him.
So, Ali, we know that he's running as an independent this year. So what happens if he steps down before then or if he's expelled?
Well, the independent bid, while it's not typically the way that you would watch a Democratic senator run for re-election, was always contingent, in our understanding, on being exonerated in this trial. Of course, that is exactly the opposite of what's happened. And so you have to imagine, although these are two separate questions, that resigning early from his term in the Senate means that he will no longer be pursuing that independent bid. But this was always one of two political questions that were facing the New Jersey senator in the aftermath of that court ruling, which is that, is he going to continue to finish out his term? And is he going to continue running for another? Right now, it sounds like we might have the answer to one of those questions, that allies are telling us that he's telling them he intends to resign. At the same time, we don't know what that means for the actual re-election bid. Again, it would stand to reason and it would stand to assume that that bid would go away, but unclear at this point.
And Ali, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer joining the many calls for Menendez to step down, what message are Democrats hoping to send voters ahead of November with this pressure campaign in light of this conviction?
We watch Democrats be very aware of the fact that this was all happening. These legal proceedings against their colleague were all happening against the backdrop of Republicans trying to level this unfounded claim that there are two tiers to the system of justice. Republicans, of course, saying that because of all of former President Donald Trump's legal woes. Democrats pointing to things like Hunter Biden as well as Bob Menendez to say, no, there is not. Democrats are being prosecuted when they are doing something wrong, too. Even before this, and we just mentioned this, more than 30 Senate Democrats came out before Menendez's trial, just when the allegations had started, to say this man needs to step down. He, of course, renounced his title as the head of the powerful chair of the Foreign Relations Committee. But for many of his colleagues, that wasn't enough. This verdict has only made those calls louder. Now more than 40 of his colleagues, including the Senate Majority Leader, has said that Menendez has to go. And as much as this is something that's happening in the halls of Congress, I think you guys are right to point out the messaging to voters on this, which is that Democrats want to make make clear corruption within their ranks is not something that they want to tolerate. It's also why we're seeing these senators say either resign yourself or we'll help you find the exit, because they don't want to have someone like this serving within their ranks.
All right, Ali Vitale, thanks for your reporting here. Time now for a check on your morning news now weather. It certainly was stormy last night here in New York. It looks like another stormy day ahead for parts of the country. Meteorologist Violetta Yas joins us this morning. Hey, Violetta.
Hey, yes, that is exactly right. Very stormy last night. In fact, the high wind reports, just the high wind reports, 165 of them in roughly the last 12 hours or so. We had a lot of them up across New York State, especially. Now, we have had that front dip a little bit further to the south, but still close enough to touch off some severe weather this afternoon and evening. 5 million people at risk here for damaging winds and hail. The tornado risk relatively low. And you can see that bullseye area from right around Norfolk through Elizabeth City, extending down in through Cape Hatteras later today. Here we have that front progressing south, so that cold front dipping into the southeast. So we'll see those scattered severe storms possible from the deep south into the Carolinas. For tomorrow, notice it doesn't make too much more progress. So it's still going to be on the stormy side. We'll see more showers and thunderstorms along that front, and localized flooding is going to be possible, along with perhaps some locally gusty winds. Now, behind this front, something you probably did already notice, that more comfortable air settling in to the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and into the Northeast as well. Now, the one-day temperature change in New York City, only 2 degrees, but that lower humidity making a big difference. The temperature change a little bit more drastic here in places like Chicago, down through Cincinnati, Pittsburgh as well. So much cooler and feeling much better, and not so hot this weekend. Temperatures do start to climb a little bit by Sunday. Many places along that I-95 corridor will be a little bit closer to 90 degrees, but again, with lower humidity, it won't be too bad out there. Meanwhile, as we enjoy the cooler temperatures and the lower humidity, the heat starts to shift into the west, where temperatures will actually be increasing. You can see we'll be right back into triple digits in places like Salt Lake City, Boise up to 102, Reading 106. So getting much warmer out there. And with that, we do have some heat alerts here. 31 million people impacted, parts of California, into parts of Arizona, and up into the Pacific Northwest as well. Now, you combine that heat along with low humidity and some potentially gusty winds. We may get enough lightning strikes to touch off dry storms, which could then touch off some fires. So we're going to watch out for that as well. We're sort of shifting all of that heat out to the west now. Meanwhile, for us here in the Northeast, it does cool down a little bit. It'll be less humid. And we do get a break from the storms as well. I think we really need that here across the Northeast.
A reprieve of both those things. All right.
Awesome to hear. Thanks. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, Simone Biles going for gold again. The Olympic GOAT reflecting on her success and her setbacks ahead of the Paris Olympics.
How do you want yourself to be remembered?
As long as I was having fun and doing what I love, then that's all that you can do.
We'll have more of her exclusive interview with today's Hoda Kotb.
Up first after the break, peer problems. Why the U.S. says it's ending a mission to bring aid to Gaza by sea. We'll be right back. We're back with an international investigation into 6 mysterious deaths at a luxury hotel in Bangkok, Thailand. Police say all the victims were poisoned with cyanide, and 2 of them were American-Vietnamese dual nationals. Now the FBI is getting involved. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer has the details.
A shocking case at a 5-star hotel in Bangkok involving 6 bodies inside a locked room. Thai police describing a scene with dishes of untouched food and traces of cyanide found on cups and a teapot. One of the people, they say, appearing to poison the others. Investigators said the victims, 3 men, 3 women, ages 37 to 56, were found in different areas of the suite with no signs of struggle. All of Vietnamese descent, 2 of them U.S. citizens. Thai police say the FBI is assisting with the investigation.
We offer our sincere condolences to the families on their loss. We are closely monitoring the situation.
According to police, 4 of the victims had invested money together, raising speculation of a dispute over debt. These images released by Thai police show some of their last moments alive entering the hotel. Officials say a room service order was later delivered. Who used the cyanide and why remains a mystery. The bodies found Tuesday by a hotel maid when the guests didn't check out.
The next step is looking at all of the relationships of all the victims to each other and others to see whether or not anyone had a motive to kill them.
Thailand's prime minister rushed to the hotel to assure tourists that the country remains safe as police work to solve a crime with lingering questions and few witnesses to answer them. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
More international news now. The U.S. military is shutting down a controversial floating pier that was supposed to help get aid into Gaza.
NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us with that and other world headlines. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning to you. That's right. There is no more need to use the pier. Those are the words of the deputy commander of U.S. Central Command. The U.S. military had described the floating pier as the biggest aid delivery effort ever in the Middle East, but it was as challenging, due in part to rough seas, as it was controversial. Aid began flowing through the pier back in May, an operation aimed at helping avert famine after months of war between Israel and Hamas. But critics of the operation said it was a political stunt by President Biden, who was under pressure to do more to help Palestinians. American officials say it's mission complete, that the pier, which cost $230 million, achieved its intended effect to surge a high volume of aid into Gaza, and that now new aid arriving by sea would shift to the established port of Ashdod in Israel. Over to China now, where 16 people were killed in a fire at a department store in the Sichuan province. That's in the southwest of China. You can see the thick black smoke engulfing the 14-story building. According to state media, rescuers were able to pull 75 people to safety, and that drones were used to help extinguish the fire. And finally, it is so hot in southern Europe that Greek authorities were forced to close the Acropolis for several hours on Wednesday. This is the biggest tourist attraction in Athens. And in Italy, 2 firefighters were killed trying to put out a fire in the region of Basilicata. 13 Italian cities have a severe heat warning in place. Elderly people in the city of Verona were urged to stay indoors while sprinklers were set up to cool pedestrians. Meteorologists said that the hot air from Africa was forecast to continue through Sunday, with temperatures expected to peak at 109 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Guys, back to you.
Oh, it's hot here, too. Danielle, thank you so much.
Coming up, Supreme Court shakeup. President Biden proposing sweeping changes that could have a major impact on future cases.
After the break, what we know about the president's plans and his appeal for support on Capitol Hill. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. President Biden is considering making sweeping changes to the U.S. Supreme Court and is reportedly trying to get some Democratic lawmakers on board to support the proposal that he is expected to unveil in the coming weeks. NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley joins us with more. Lawrence, good morning. What can you tell us about what President Biden's proposed reforms to the Supreme Court could look like?
Sure. Good morning. First thing to note is that President Biden has never shown any interest in doing any of this big Supreme Court reform stuff. And it's only now that he's under pressure with his campaign amid calls to step down, he's embracing some of these ideas that are appealing to the left of the party. And so he's kind of touched upon, according to a report by my NBC News colleagues, he's touching upon 2 issues. One is to implement term limits on the court, which would limit how long the justices can sit on the court, because at the moment they have lifetime appointments. And the second thing would be to have a stronger ethics rules, which the court itself implemented some ethics rules last year. But this would be a stronger one that would have an enforcement mechanism, which the current rules do not have. So these would be 2 quite big sweeping proposals if they ever actually happen.
Yeah, of course, Lawrence, easier said than done. Politically, legislatively, how would it have to work out?
Yeah, so there's a lot of obstacles here. First of all, anything that Biden does has to go through Congress. Although Democrats in Congress do support some of these efforts, of course, the Democrats don't control the House at the moment, and Republicans in the Senate have also opposed any efforts to do any of this. It turns out that Republicans quite like the Supreme Court just as it is, with a 6-3 conservative majority that's going to be there for decades. So they have no incentive whatsoever to sign on to any of this right now.
Speaking of Congress, haven't members of both the House and Senate proposed similar ideas, throughout the years, and we haven't actually seen any movement on something like term limits, for example?
That's right. I mean, going back, before the current kind of furore about the Supreme Court, some of these ideas were actually had bipartisan support, when no one was paying attention to it. But now the Republicans see these proposals as being an attack on the court. And so these legislation, the term limits legislation that Congressman Ro Khanna has been introducing for quite a few years, and also the ethics rules that have been going through the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Democrats have tried to pass the Senate and failed. These are all things now the Republicans see as being partisan attacks on the court. And so, the idea of there being some kind of bipartisan reform seems pretty unlikely.
Lawrence, do polls over the last couple of years give us any indication of how the public feels about the Supreme Court and whether reforms are needed?
Yeah, I mean, the polls, especially after the court overturned the Roe v. Wade abortion decision, the polls showed the court becoming increasingly unpopular, especially with Democrats. But the idea of reform is not so easy because it's not just whether you can get it through Congress. There's also legal questions about it because the Constitution says that Supreme Court justices have lifetime appointments. And so any legislation would have to kind of try to get around that, which the proposal does try to do, but there's still questions as to whether that would actually pass legal muster. And the same thing with an enforceable ethics rules, which might touch upon the separation of powers. And of course, the final arbiters in all this would be the Supreme Court themselves.
I was just going to say, and doesn't this eventually go to them? So there you go. All right.
Lawrence Early, thanks for your reporting this morning.
Okay.
Coming up, she's the Olympic GOAT. Now Simone Biles is hoping to make history in Paris.
The only thing I have to prove is to myself that I can get out there and do it again.
Up next, how she says she's feeling ahead of the Summer Games. This is Morning News Now. Back now with your financial headlines. TV and streaming may never, ever, ever be getting back together as Warner Brothers Discovery weighs a new business breakup plan.
Love you for
There's
that.
no even Taylor in this story, so I don't know why we did that, but we did.
I didn't know it was not responsible. Can confirm. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money headlines. Hey, Silvana.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. That was all for you, Savannah. He did that for you. All right, let's get you some headlines. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly exploring plans to split its streaming and studio businesses from its television networks. Warner Brothers' market value has dropped by a third in the past year. The company previously considered mergers with NBC Universal and Paramount, which has since agreed to sell itself to Skydance Media. Fast food and casual dining chains have been serving up value menus this year in a bid to win back customers hit by inflation, and fresh data shows it may be working. Because a recent survey by Placer AI shows traffic has jumped at McDonald's since it launched its $5 meal deal last month and debuted a free fries Friday promotion. Starbucks also seeing success with its limited time deal for half-off iced drinks on Fridays in May. Chili's and Buffalo Wild Wings have experienced a similar rise in traffic since launching value deals this spring. And a Stegosaurus fossil goes for a sky-high amount on the auction block. The nearly complete remains of the dinosaur dubbed Apex, going for a record $44.6 million at Sotheby's yesterday. Now, that blew past the pre-sale estimate of $4 to $6 million. Sotheby's not revealing the buyer, but reports say it's billionaire investor and hedge fund mogul Ken Griffin, who plans to loan the fossil to a U.S. museum, guys. Very cool.
That would be great if that is true.
Yeah.
All right, Silvana,
Cool.
thank you so much.
Talk about a jump, too, from what they expected. All right, thanks, Silvana.
Yeah.
There are just 8 days remaining until the start of the Summer Olympics, and one of the athletes everyone will be watching is the GOAT herself, Simone Biles.
After abruptly withdrawing from the Tokyo Games, citing her mental health, she made a triumphant return to win the U.S. Gymnastics Championships this year. Today's show anchor Hoda Kotb spoke with Biles about how she's feeling heading into these Olympic Games.
I'm speechless because it is just a work of art.
Simone Biles doesn't just compete.
No human should be able to do that.
She redefines her sport with every skill.
That is out of this world.
Every routine.
That's how it's done. She's a champion for a reason.
With 37 world and Olympic medals, Simone is the most decorated gymnast of all time, now heading to her third Olympic Games.
I'm a little bit older, more mature, so just being unapologetically me.
Unapologetic and better than ever. But 3 years ago, many people, including Simone herself, questioned if she would ever compete again.
That was not what was planned.
I love you guys.
A mental block known as the twisties led her to withdraw from almost all of her events at the Tokyo Olympics.
And we are just being told by the officials that Simone Biles is out of the competition tonight.
Simone stepped away from the gym and made her mental health a priority.
You had the twisties. You were telling your team at one point, like, I had demons. I need to keep the demons at bay. How do you continue to do that now?
Therapy. I think before I was kind of like pushing down my trauma, and now I've learned to speak on it and kind of release that.
Do you feel stronger now than you have before?
I think so. I think we used to think of therapy as a weakness, and now I think of it as a strength.
Simone got married, saying "I do" to Jonathan Owens, a safety for the Chicago Bears. She became the youngest person ever to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But through it all, Simone knew that there was still one more chapter of her gymnastics story left to write.
You made this, obviously, this decision to come back.
Yeah.
Was that a quick, easy decision?
It took a while because I was watching gymnastics on TV, but then, you know, every time somebody twisted, I was like, oh my gosh. I feel like one day I just woke up and I was like, okay, let's try this again.
Her coaches were not initially sold on the idea of another Olympics and had even the greatest gymnast of all time go back to square one.
And I was like, okay, I want to go to the Olympics again. And they were like, no. And I was like, no, that's strange. Like, that's so weird. And then they were kind of like, get back in the gym, get your skills back. Let's see if you actually want to do this, so that we're all collectively deciding that we're really going to go for it.
This year, like the last Olympics and the one before that, the spotlight's on you. It's still the same.
Yeah, I'm aware.
The pressures are on, the spotlight's on. The only thing that's different is you.
Yeah.
You're the only thing that's changed in the equation. So is that the magic here?
I think so, but also limiting social media.
Do you feel like you have something to prove?
I always say no, but I would say the only thing I have to prove is to myself that I can get out there and do it again.
And what do we think?
I think we're gonna get the job done. I feel really confident.
Ready to watch her get that job done? Her husband, alongside Mom Nellie and Dad Ron, who will be back in the stands after COVID restrictions kept them home during the Tokyo Games.
How different do you think this is going to make you feel when you're in Paris?
I think it's gonna be just like Rio, having family there to support whatever we need, but really just having fun, embracing that moment and making those memories. And I'm excited that I get to do it with my family.
You're married, you've got a home, you've got a husband, you've got... You're old. You're not... Come on, man. You're 27.
Yes. For a gymnast, it's old.
Did anyone tell you 27's too old? Don't even bother.
No, but I think there were speculations, like, you know, but now you see girls like Hesley, she's 16. I look at her like, wow, she has such a long career ahead of her.
Let's say it's 50 years down the road. How do you want yourself to be remembered?
As long as I was having fun and doing what I love, then that's all that you can do, because I don't want to look back 50 years from now and be like, wow, she was good, but she was so miserable. And I think a couple times I might have thought that, but now I'm just like, wow, look at her go. She's having so much fun. She's loving what she's doing with who she's doing it with. So really just embracing that moment.
Our thanks to Hoda for that profile on everybody's favorite, Simone Biles. And make sure to catch Biles at the Paris Olympics. It starts next Friday, July 26th. You can watch on NBC and on Peacock.
There's so many lessons she's teaching athletes and non-athletes.
God, it's so true. Young women, for sure.
Coming up, they got the nod. When we come back, we're rolling out the red carpet for this year's Emmy nominees.
With our friend Brian Balthazar. He's joining us with the biggest winners, the history makers, plus some surprises and snubs. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now.
Imagine Entertainment and Fox are teaming up to bring the hit TV show 24 to the big screen. Hit show starred Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer, an agent for the government's fictional counter-terrorist unit. Currently no word on whether Sutherland will return for the film. The series ran between 2001 and 2014, even spawned a TV film called Redemption back in 2008. The series earned 68 Emmy nominations and 20 wins, including Outstanding Drama Series.
Were you a fan? Did you watch?
I did not watch, no.
Me either. That makes me, sometimes I'm like, oh, that'd be a good one to go back.
People loved it back in the day. I do remember that. So.
Love that. All right, well, let's stay on this type of topic. This hour, we are going to tell you the nominations for the 76th Annual Primetime Emmy Awards. This year's list included some history-making choices.
From a dark comedy that broke nomination records to a few trailblazers receiving nods, this year's slate of nominees definitely getting attention.
And here to walk us through the highlights from this year's list is entertainment journalist and pop culture expert Brian Balthazar. Brian, always good to have you with us. Let's start with The Bear. 23 nominations. That is a record for a comedy. What is this show in the running for? And remind us also why it's classified as a comedy. As a fan of the show, I could sort of see that, but it's also sort of a drama, right?
I'm with you on that. Well, obviously, the performances themselves, the majority of the actors involved, Jeremy Allen White, Ayo Edebiri, and the supporting cast rounded out a lot of those nominations. A ton of technical nominations, writing, directing, costuming, sound, editing, cinematography. And I think it was one episode in particular, the Fishes episode with Jamie Lee Curtis, that really took this series into a whole other place. Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously nominated for this, but that was a truly dramatic role. The series itself is full of dramatic scenes, not a lot of laugh out loud moments. So why is it nominated as a comedy? Well, prior to 2021, series that were a half hour would generally be nominated as comedies. It was a rule, I should say. If you were a 30-minute show, you were nominated as a comedy. Well, this is generally a 30-minute show. That was an archaic rule. It's been done away with. And so now there are a lot of people arguing that it should be in the drama category because that's more competitive. Right. So there's a lot of contention about that. And if you're watching season 3 right now, by the way, we're voting for season 2 in these Emmys, right? But season 3 has more comedic moments, right? You're seeing they're making a little more effort to make it comedy because they're getting grilled in the press about it, to be honest.
If they put it in the drama, it'd win anyway, I think, this year. And Jamie Lee Curtis better win.
I think it would. I do think it would.
Agree.
Better win for guest. All right, let's talk about the show with the most nominations. That's Shogun with 25, only the second non-English language show to be recognized in the top drama category. With no Succession, with no White Lotus, does it seem like this is the favorite?
Well, I do think it is. And what's so interesting about it is people for many years have been intimidated by non-English speaking series. But, you know, Squid Game, the dramatic version, not the reality competition, really changed that, I think. And then, of course, you know, to get the outstanding drama role, that's what you're fighting for, is to get that kind of recognition and get more eyeballs to this show. So I think that's going to make a big difference. Of course, we've got nominations for the actors Hiroaki Sanada and Anna Sawai and the supporting cast as well. And then we also have some record-breaking for Indigenous people as well. Lily Gladstone and Kali Reese were nominated for Under the Bridge. I'm sorry, Lily was nominated for Under the Bridge and Kali was nominated for True Detective. Lily's had quite a year. You know, she was just nominated for an Academy Award, so that's amazing. These are the the first time Indigenous women have been nominated in the acting category, so that's a big history-making event as well.
And huge congratulations to both of them for that. All right, let's talk about surprises and snubs. I said earlier, the snub, The Gentleman, I thought was one of the best shows of the year. Did not get enough love. So that's mine. Brian, what are your surprises and snubs?
I was a little disappointed to see that Cynthia Nixon wasn't nominated for the Gilded Age. I really think she's fantastic in this role, and I think we'll see a lot coming up for the next season for her. And it pains me to say who I was surprised was nominated because I know how hard people work on it. But Palm Royale received 11 nominations, and largely, I think a lot of them were warranted as far as the technical and the costuming and the editing. I do think, though, for outstanding series, I think, outstanding comedy, I think that it missed the mark in a lot of ways. I don't think it was the White Lotus everyone kind of wanted it to be. I watched every episode and I relished in the performances of Kristen Wiig and Carol Burnett, of course, who both got nominations. But I think in a very competitive field, when you only get 4 or 5 nominees, you know, sometimes per series, I think you're edging out someone who may have really hit the mark a little better.
Brian, it feels like we only also just saw the Emmys a few months ago, right? Remind us where there are 2 ceremonies this year.
Right. Well, last year we were kind of embroiled. Right now, about this time, we were talking about the strike. When were the directors going to have a strike? The writers' strike, the actors' strike. And so that only wrapped up towards the end of the summer, early fall. And then it takes about 4 months to get these award shows ready and to secure the locations, the dates, get the performance, all of it. So that's why we're seeing 2 in 1 year. But next year we're going to be back back on pattern, barring any strikes.
Or maybe we can start a new tradition and do 2 Emmys a year.
Woo!
Split the season up.
Okay. I'm sorry we're out of time.
It goes, oh, God, okay.
I will say getting a nomination is such a huge honor now with so much content out there. I mean, it truly is hard to get a nomination.
Gosh, think about how many platforms.
It is a vast market. It is a vast sea of content that any of these people break through because you don't even know what's on. Just marketing these shows is the challenge. So if you know that it exists, that's one thing. Then to be recognized for your performance, that's another.
So true. Brian, thank you so much. And the ceremony will take place on September 15th.
And then maybe again 6 months later. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Don't call Brian if so. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this Thursday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, a fresh setback. President Biden tests positive for COVID. He was already facing questions about his health, growing calls from fellow Democrats to step aside. Now he's knocked off the campaign trail. This morning, the one thing he said that would make him exit the race, and the difficult conversations now happening within the Democratic Party. Also this morning, making his case, J.D. Vance, the one-time Trump critic turned American First ally, introduces himself to the country.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
His pitch to Midwestern voters as former President Trump gets ready to take to the stage tonight. All as we get new insight into the moments leading up to the assassination attempt on Mr. Trump, a chilling new video appearing to show the shooter before the attack, and what investigators are now saying they found in his possession. The story all couples looking to grow their families should see. Our own Savannah shares a very personal look at her and her husband Alex's fertility journey and what they learned along the way. Looking forward to having you share that with us. I know it's something you've been working on for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's something that happened a few months ago that now we're just getting to kind of share about. Hopefully it helps people out because there's so many questions when you enter that process.
All right, we'll look forward to that conversation. We're going to begin with yet another bump in the campaign trail for the Biden campaign. White House officials confirmed the president has been diagnosed with COVID-19.
Yeah, the announcement forced Mr. Biden to cancel his event in the swing state of Nevada. It comes as more prominent members of the Democratic Party are voicing their concerns over whether he can win in November. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where the president is self-isolating. Gabe, good morning.
This diagnosis comes at a devastating time for the president. He had to cut short a campaign swing in Nevada, and all this threatens to intensify Democrats' anxiety about his health as he faces growing calls to leave the race. The White House says he's experiencing mild symptoms, that he's received his first dose of Paxlovid, and that he will self-isolate at his home here in Rehoboth. Overnight, President Biden landing in Delaware after testing positive for COVID, being helped into the SUV before putting on a mask. Earlier in Nevada, the president not wearing a mask, saying, "I'm good," and giving a thumbs up as he slowly boarded Air Force One. The COVID diagnosis comes as questions mount over the president's ability to serve another 4 years. In an interview this week, the president said the only thing that would make him reevaluate staying in the race,
if there had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem.
Pressure may be growing from the most powerful Democrats on Capitol Hill, among them former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. According to CNN, citing multiple sources, Pelosi privately told President Biden polling shows he cannot defeat Donald Trump and that the president could destroy Democrats' chances of winning the House in November. A Pelosi spokesperson would only confirm to NBC she has not spoken to President Biden since Friday. Meanwhile, in a meeting with the president Saturday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also shared recent polling data showing Biden trailing Trump in what two sources familiar with the meeting called a blunt conversation. Schumer's office saying Leader Schumer conveyed the views of his caucus directly to President Biden. But just 2 days after that meeting with Schumer, the president staying the course.
Look, 14 million people voted for me to be the nominee in the Democratic Party. Okay? I listen to them.
While President Biden is increasingly irritated with his critics, his discussions with aides has also shifted to be mindful of the damage to his legacy, according to two close allies. Before the COVID diagnosis, NBC News learning there's a sense among some aides that there could be, quote, a willingness to reassess if a major development shook up the race. Some Republicans have said they want President Biden as an opponent, but former President Trump's team says he's ready for anything.
Is Joe Biden your preferred opponent? We really don't care, Savannah, whether it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or another candidate. We are prepared to deliver Donald Trump a victory on November 5th.
And President Biden's campaign has already experienced a major slowdown in funding after the debate, and concerns continue about it drying up as these powerful lawmakers ramp up the pressure. As for the COVID diagnosis, President Biden last tested positive in 2022, twice. The White House says he'll carry out all of his duties as he self-isolates. Back to you.
All right, Gabe, thank you.
Let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel for more on the COVID diagnosis here. So the White House says President Biden's experiencing mild symptoms. So tell us what those are likely to include, because we know they can change with each variant. This one seems to have a wider array of symptoms. I recently had COVID. I had no symptoms at all. So how much of a risk is COVID for someone who's in their 80s right now?
Yeah, Joe, Savannah, the mild symptoms the president experienced are pretty similar to what we're seeing. Cough, runny nose, and just general kind of malaise or feeling tired. I have had more patients coming forward that have had that loss of smell. So some of that is a little bit newer because we experienced that years ago. If you're older, to your point, there is a much higher likelihood that not only do you present with some of these symptoms, but it can really suppress your immune function to respond and recover from COVID. So that's why the president self-isolating, making sure others around him don't get sick is incredibly important.
We've heard sleep and a lack of it sort of being blamed, at least in part, for some of what we've seen from the president, like his debate performance. He says his doctor said he needs more of it, but we know he's had this campaign schedule that's been pretty packed. How much does exhaustion impact the immune system? And is any amount of rest something that can reset the president, COVID or otherwise?
Yeah, great question, Savannah. Look, exhaustion can significantly impact the immune system because just having that chronic state of stress gives you higher cortisol levels. That suppresses your body's natural immune function. It reduces the number of those blood cells that can fight off infections. Add to that the president. I've worked for a president. They're constantly exhausted. It doesn't matter what age they are. Their schedules are unlike any other person's schedule in the world. So it is not shocking that he is exhausted and having this. What I would say to add on to that is that what we're seeing with these flirt variants, which are the latest potpourri of variants, Joe, it's probably what you had, are incredibly easy to overcome previous immune from an infection or vaccines, and they're incredibly easy to get. That's why we're seeing record rates around the country.
So the White House says the president's currently self-isolating in Delaware. How does this compare with the recent changes we've had on CDC guidelines on COVID isolation? And I have to admit, I was a little surprised. We see the video there. He's not wearing a mask. Yeah. Should he be under the rules? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, yes, you weren't the only one that was surprised, and I did a little bit of a cringe because, you know, he's outdoors, so we see pictures of him, and outdoor circulation can be helpful, but we know he's infected. We know he's in close proximity to a lot of people, including anybody that's around him, handling anything around him. And so, yes, a mask is incredibly advisable. As a reminder, the CDC updated its guidelines. If you get COVID-19, you are asked to isolate until your symptoms improve or you're fever-free, not taking medications, for at least 24 hours. Joe, you didn't have symptoms, so that puts you in a category where we just recommend that you mask a very high-quality mask for at least 5 days around other people. But I'm still telling people, especially older people, especially people with chronic conditions, isolate yourself and make sure that you're feeling better. Also, don't forget Paxlovid, which we know the president's on as well.
All right. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much.
Thank you. In Milwaukee, the Republican National Convention is set to wrap up tonight with former President Trump accepting the party's nomination for a third straight time. Last night saw Mr. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, introduce himself to voters. NBC News senior Washington correspondent and News Now anchor Hallie Jackson has the latest from the convention.
Hey there, good morning to you. Every time we have seen former President Trump so far, he's been in the stands in that VIP box. But tonight, he will take the stage for his turn at the Republican National Convention, one day after his running mate made the case for a second Trump term. Overnight, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance making his primetime political debut.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Donald Trump's running mate highlighting his rural upbringing in Middletown, Ohio.
It was also a place that had been cast aside and forgotten by America's ruling class in Washington.
The author of Hillbilly Elegy, connecting his turbulent childhood, raised in poverty, to key voter issues like inflation and immigration. Vance also honoring his late grandmother, who raised him while his mother struggled with addiction. She was there last night, watching from the hall.
I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here. 10 years, clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
The former self-described never-Trumper now positioning himself as a loyal number 2, repeatedly name-dropping key Rust Belt battlegrounds the Trump campaign hopes to win come November.
All the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. We got to win Michigan, too, here, so.
And Vance not shying away from attacks on President Biden, pointedly referencing his own age. At 39 years old, the first millennial on a major party ticket.
Joe Biden has been a politician in Washington for longer than I've been alive.
While the campaign's looking to broaden Mr. Trump's appeal.
We cannot only talk to Republicans alone. I think you have to reach out to the entire country.
It's also hoping to supercharge turnout in its Republican base.
They lied about Joe Biden's fitness for office.
With an appearance from former Trump aide Peter Navarro, met with applause hours after leaving a federal prison where he was serving time for contempt of Congress.
If they can come for me, and if they can come for Donald Trump, be careful, they will come for you.
And the former president's family taking the stage, Mr. Trump beaming as his 17-year-old granddaughter Kai spoke.
He's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking.
And tonight, it's Mr. Trump's turn for the convention's grand finale. The former president saying he tossed out his initial tougher speech for something more unifying after the assassination attempt against him.
That was an amazing, horrible thing, amazing thing, and in many ways it changes your attitude, your viewpoint on life.
And multiple sources tell us tonight that we should expect to see some family members who have not yet made an appearance here in the convention hall. Former First Lady Melania Trump, as well as the former president's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Back to you.
Hallie, thank you.
Tonight, another member of the Trump inner circle is set to make a keenly watched appearance at the convention, former First Lady Melania Trump. This comes just days after the assassination attempt on her husband in Pennsylvania. Mrs. Trump is also set to play a unique role in this campaign. NBC News senior national correspondent, News Now anchor Tom Yamas joins us from Milwaukee with that part of the story. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. She's the former First Lady that so many talked about, but did so little talking herself. Melania Trump has been described as an enigma, but over the years, we've learned much more about her. She's the former international model who married Donald Trump and called the White House home. And tonight, for the first time and on the last night of the convention, she's here in Milwaukee to cheer on her husband.
Tonight, back in the spotlight, former First Lady Melania Trump, expected to make her first and only appearance at the Republican National Convention. It comes just days after the assassination attempt on her husband. Following the shooting, the former First Lady writing in a statement, in part, "When I watched that violent bullet strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of devastating change."
Do you have any regrets about your presidency?
Since leaving the White House, Mrs. Trump has kept a very low public profile, appearing at Mar-a-Lago when the former president announced his re-election campaign in 2022. And again, walking arm in arm with him to vote in the Florida primary this past March.
Are you going to return to the campaign trail with your husband? Stay tuned.
But the former First Lady has not appeared a single time at any of his recent court cases, including his recent felony conviction for falsifying business records in an attempt to cover up alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels, which he denies. Back in 2016, Mrs. Trump addressed the RNC.
You work hard for what you want in life, that your word is your bond.
But later, a staffer apologized after reports emerged parts of the speech were plagiarized from another First Lady, Michelle Obama.
I'm very excited to announce Be Best.
During her time in the White House, Melania Trump launched her Be Best initiative, an effort to curb bullying, which some found ironic, considering her husband consistently mocks rivals on social media and in real life. She spent most of her time in the White House focused on raising their son Barron.
Melania Trump is
Oh, that's so many stuff. A mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend, the First Lady of the United States.
In 2018, I sat down with the former First Lady in her only network news interview and asked her how politics and the allegations of her husband's infidelity during that first campaign affected her.
You still have a good marriage. Do you love your husband?
Yes, we are fine. Yes. It's what media speculate and it's gossip. It's not always correct stuff.
Having spent time with Melania when she was on the campaign trail and when she was in the White House, I learned that she does things her way. She always does things her way. An aide once told me that she reads everything written about her, but she chooses when to weigh in. She's very calculated, just like she is with her politics. She's taken a huge step back this time around, but every now and then, when she feels compelled to do something, she'll join the campaign trail and help out her husband. Joe.
All right. Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're going to have much more from the Republican National Convention throughout the day here on NBC News. We're going to bring you former President Trump's remarks live. Our coverage gets underway tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific on NBC News Now, as well as on NBC.
Well, we are learning new details about the timeline of events leading up to that assassination attempt on former President Trump. Following an FBI and Secret Service briefing to senators yesterday, multiple sources have told NBC News that state police notified the Secret Service of a suspicious person 20 minutes before the shooting. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now with the latest from Butler, Pennsylvania. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. While authorities are still working to determine motive, we are getting some new information in terms of what was divulged on that call with senators yesterday. According to a person on the briefing call, the FBI said the gunman's search history included images of Trump, Biden, and other public figures, as well as the dates of Trump appearances and the Chicago DNC. This as authorities are trying to establish a timeline.
This morning, a chilling new video appears to show the shooter walking outside the security perimeter at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, before former President Trump took the stage. It's a potentially critical piece of evidence showing the moments leading up to the attempted assassination. Senate members in a briefing Wednesday afternoon provided with a timeline from the FBI and the Secret Service. 3 sources familiar with the briefing tell NBC News. According to that timeline, over an hour elapsed between the time the shooter was photographed as a suspicious person and when he opened fire. And 20 minutes before the shooting, Pennsylvania State Police notified the Secret Service of a suspicious person with a rangefinder. 2 minutes later, the Secret Service notified snipers of the suspicious individual. At 6:02 p.m., Mr. Trump walks on stage.
He's on the roof. He's not.
We have people that
right here, right on the roof.
By 6:09, this video shows people yelling they've spotted a person on a rooftop. The first shots ring out just minutes later at 6:11.
Who was in charge of that building? Why wasn't the roof scrutinized? How did all these things happen?
Overnight, a Secret Service spokesperson clarifying to NBC News that they were notified of a suspicious person possibly carrying a backpack and a golf rangefinder that required further investigation, but that it wasn't until he retrieved the weapon and climbed the roof that he was identified as a threat. At the Republican National Convention, senators expressing their frustration to the Secret Service director.
This was an assassination attempt.
A senior law enforcement official telling NBC News the shooter was also found with a transmitter, a remote control for a fireworks detonator next to his body.
The House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed the director of the Secret Service to testify in public this month. The Department of Homeland Security has responded saying that she's available later this month or early next month. That according to a letter seen by NBC News. Joe.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much. Time to get a check on your morning news now. Weather, the Midwest and Northeast finally getting some relief from the searing heat. Meteorologist Violetta Yaz is here with the forecast. Violetta, good morning.
Good morning. Yes. I mean, how good does that sound, right? Comfortable Canadian air here across the Midwest into the Great Lakes and through the Northeast as well. This is helping to bring temperatures down after those storms from last night. So in New York, getting up to 88 degrees. So if you think about it, that is not a drastic cool down, but that front also cut that humidity down quite a bit. So it is feeling just much more comfortable today in Pittsburgh, up to 80 degrees. That's a 5-degree change from just yesterday. Meanwhile, we'll be into the 70s. Out towards Chicago, 77 the high for today. And Detroit getting up to 75. Notice it does get a little warmer, though, as we head into the weekend. By Saturday, up to 86 in Baltimore, 92 on Sunday. Again, I don't think humidity levels reach that oppressive level that we've been seeing as of late. So I do think it will still feel more comfortable the next couple of days, even though temperatures do start to climb up just a little bit. While we're enjoying more comfortable Canadian air and more seasonable temperatures, the heat is actually going to start to build here across the west. So we can expect temperatures into the triple digits. Reading 106, Boise up to 102 today. That's a 10-degree increase. Salt Lake City 101, Portland 89, and 98 degrees all the way up in Spokane. Now, heat alerts in effect here for parts of the Pacific Northwest and down in through California as well. 31 million people impacted here. So again, we're sort of seeing this heat shift from the east, where it has really been established for the last several days, and now moving on into the Northwest. Also keeping an eye on the fire danger. It's quite dry. We may get some dry lightning strikes, and that may touch off some fires there. Meanwhile, in the east, south of the general I-95 corridor, we may start to see some thunderstorms again later this afternoon and evening. Likely not going to be quite as severe as what we saw for last night, but still maybe some localized damaging winds and hail in parts of Virginia, down in through the Carolinas as well. 5 million people at risk there. So the severe threat winding down a little bit too. So we have the heat that is now gone, the severe threat winding down a little bit, so things sort of quieting down across the Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic.
We'll take a little summer break here.
Absolutely.
All right, Violetta, thank you so much. Coming up, NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis speaks out after he was handcuffed on a flight. What he's saying about the controversy and the big questions he still wants answered. But first, a dire new warning out of Gaza as hospitals are pushed to the breaking point. We've got the latest next. We're back with the latest on the war between Israel and Hamas. This morning, Israel is bombarding central Gaza while pushing deeper into Rafah. The attacks come as the Red Cross warns that its field hospital in Rafah is at a breaking point following a surge in casualties and injuries from recent Israeli attacks. The ICRC said last weekend strikes on a refugee camp in Han Yunis that killed dozens of Palestinians put a particular strain on its facilities, adding it could soon be forced to make difficult choices about who gets treated. NBC News correspondent Hala Garani joins us now from Jerusalem. Hala, tell us more about this warning from the ICRC and how Israel is responding, and just catch us up on what we've seen in Gaza over the last few days. We understand Israeli strikes recently hit a UN school housing displaced people, right?
Right. Well, actually, 8 schools in the last 10 days. And according to the UN, 6 of those schools are UNRWA schools. That is the refugee agency for the UN inside of the Gaza Strip, saying that this has caused hundreds of casualties over the last several weeks. You mentioned the ICRC saying that they might have to make difficult decisions about who to treat and who not to treat if there is another mass casualty event, because we've been following an investigation and conducting an investigation for NBC on hospitals throughout the Gaza Strip, and they have been hit very hard since October 7th. Very few are still fully functioning. The only fully functioning hospitals in the Gaza Strip are in the southern part of the besieged enclave, and they are field hospitals. So when field hospitals start saying that their operations are not able to keep up with the flow of mass casualty events, that is very concerning, as the death toll in the Gaza Strip, Joe, is nearing, according to the Ministry of Health, 39,000 people.
Hala, let's talk about the U.S. response. The U.S. is taking down the pier it built to bring much-needed aid into Gaza. So why is the U.S. dismantling it, and where does that leave humanitarian efforts?
Well, it's dismantling it because it just didn't work. It operated for 20 days in total. It cost $230 million. It took 1,000 U.S. personnel to build. There were issues with the currents. There were issues with the weather. So it really was never a fully operational pier. But one other way to look at it is this is a statement of a symbol of failure, not of the pier, but of the U.S.'s ability to convince and to pressure the Israeli authorities to open other access points for aid into the Gaza Strip, because the amount of aid that came in through that pier is the equivalent of a few hundred truckloads. A few hundred truckloads is really what came into the Gaza Strip before October 7th every single day. So really, it is a symbol of failure on many levels.
And Hala, real quickly, this morning we saw Israel's far-right security minister visit a highly sensitive holy site in Jerusalem. What can you tell us about that?
Right. Well, it's not far from where I'm standing now. I was not far from the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in the Old City in East Jerusalem. And this is Itamar Ben-Gvir you're talking about. This is the far-right national security minister. Since October 7th, twice he has gone into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound to pray, he says today, for the hostages. This is seen as an extremely provocative act. This is the third holiest site for Muslims that Itamar Ben-Gvir and his far-right allies believe should be fully accessible to Jewish Israelis. He has been condemned roundly by Palestinian groups and also by Jordan, it has to be said. I'm looking down there. The Jordanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said this has violated the sanctity of the site and that this is seen as a provocation. He was filmed praying with the Dome of the Rock. Everybody will know the Dome of the Rock, of course, in Jerusalem behind him. This happened a few hours ago, but as I told you, I was walking through the streets of Old Jerusalem today, and it was pretty quiet. So it did not cause any upheaval. Back to you.
Hala, thank you so much. Coming up, he has been lighting up the stage with the American Ballet Theater for 25 years. I sat down with Herman Cornejo to talk about his prolific career and what's keeping him going after a quarter of a century. Welcome back. We're learning new details following the arrest of NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis. The football star is speaking out after he was removed from a United Airlines flight by FBI agents, saying the incident made him feel racially profiled. NBC News national correspondent Yasmin Vesugian spoke to Davis and his wife about what happened.
Terrell Davis, two-time Super Bowl champ and Hall of Famer, is speaking out over a nightmare in the skies. He was handcuffed and questioned upon landing, all in front of his wife and children, over a cup of ice.
NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis demanding accountability after he says he was handcuffed and removed from a United Airlines flight.
My son politely asked, "Excuse me, may I please have a cup of ice?" And so I put my hand up like this and said, "Excuse me," and he didn't see it. So then I reached and tapped him on his shoulder. And that's when he swung back and said, "Don't hit me." And I'm a little confused as to, I didn't hit you.
The Broncos legend traveling to California with his wife Tamiko and 3 kids. When they landed, he said the pilot asked all passengers to remain seated. Then, according to Davis, 6 FBI and law enforcement officers boarded the plane.
They come right towards me. And at that point, my mind is like, what the heck is going on? I'm in shock that this guy is actually putting handcuffs on me.
His 3 children were looking on.
I was powerless. I couldn't do anything.
And our kids, they were helpless. You know, it was the absolute most horrifying experience of my life.
Davis said he was questioned for what felt like 45 minutes.
They apologized, talked about how this was not what they had gotten, reported.
The FBI telling NBC News their agents were responding to a report of a violent assault.
Did you feel as if you were racially profiled on that flight?
Yeah, I felt like that played a role.
United Airlines said in a statement it has removed the flight attendant from duty while it investigates. This is clearly not the kind of travel experience we strive to provide, and we have reached out to Mr. Davis's team to apologize. But Terrell and Tamiko Davis say they're now left trying to help their kids process what happened to their dad.
Unfortunately, because of the beautiful color of your skin, your experiences in this world are going to be different. And unfortunately, at 13, 11, and 9, you've had an experience.
Terrell, if the flight attendant was sitting in the seat that I'm in right now, what would you say to him?
I would want to know why. Why would you want to ruin a man's life like that? And I didn't want him to answer those questions in front of my children, like look them in the eyes and tell them why they tried to harm, destroy their dad.
And the Davis' attorneys say they are looking into filing suit and possibly seeking civil liability. Back to you.
Yasmin, thank you so much. Baseball has long been called America's pastime, and perhaps nowhere is that more true than on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The Cape Cod Baseball League has been a summer staple on the peninsula for more than a century. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa got an inside look at one of the special traditions that makes it so cherished. Emily, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. I feel like this is the quintessential slice of summer with this story. The baseball itself is top-notch, attracting some of the best college players in the country. In fact, both starting pitchers in the MLB All-Star Game this week played Summer League in the Cape, but those superstars of tomorrow get the personal experience of staying with host families and often forming lifelong connections.
They are the sights and sounds of an ideal summer night. For 2 months every year, baseball fields along Cape Cod come alive with wooden bats, lawn chair cheering sections, and some of the best college players in the country.
I can't picture summer on Cape Cod without Cape League baseball. It's the equivalent of mini golf, ice cream, and lobster.
But one other aspect makes this summer league unique.
You got your uniform laid out here?
Yeah, so I'll be wearing that white jersey. Now batting.
Those players, including the superstars of tomorrow, stay with local host families in some of the most coveted summer towns in the nation.
As you can see, this is like the man cave heaven. We got 5 TVs on the walls.
I mean, were you anticipating 5 TVs?
No, when I first came up here, I was completely shocked.
Tristan Becerra is a sophomore outfielder for the Clemson Tigers, a member of this summer's Born Braves, and staying with longtime host family Colleen and Dave Ayava.
When I come home from the game, usually they're whipping up dinner, and last night me and Dave watched the new House of Dragon episode.
Nice.
So it's definitely a family feel.
What has it been like so far with Tristan?
He emptied the dishwasher, which has only happened 3 times probably in my 13 years of hosting, which was very sweet.
Can you estimate how many players have stayed in your house?
At least 40, I'd say.
What about it is so appealing?
Being part of the environment, the growth of the athlete, developing the relationship with the families, and they end up being lifelong relationships. You know, we've been to several weddings. She makes quilts for the babies when they have the babies. It's a little bit of a lifestyle within a life.
With roots dating back to 1885, the Cape Cod Baseball League is known for attracting MLB scouts. 1 in 6 current major leaguers has played in the Cape, including superstars like Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, and 4-time All-Star Pete Alonso, who stayed with the Ayavas.
When we got home, we had 3 of these sent to us from Pete from the Met Stadium, so that was pretty special.
They have visited Alonso in New York and attended the wedding of another of their players, Yankees and Blue Jays reliever Chad Green.
How special is it to see players years beyond their time here?
To me, it's very special to cheer them on quietly from New England when they're off in New York or Canada or Florida.
Nicole Norkovicius is president of the Born Braves and has hosted summer players for more than a decade.
You build lifetime relationships. 2017, we hosted Richie Palacios, who now plays for the Tampa Bay Rays. My son, Colin, was able to travel and see Richie make his MLB debut.
I can only imagine what it's like for especially your 2 sons.
It's awesome, and it's the best for my older son. These have been his big brothers. He had an athletic injury himself in 8th grade, and I remember getting text messages from the kids we hosted that year, checking in on him.
The kids give you way more than you give them, and that's the real benefit of the Cape League, I think.
Is it hard to say goodbye at the end of the season?
Yeah. It's sad.
For the players as well.
It's been so fun so far. It's definitely going to be hard to leave, you know, at the end of the summer.
A game-changing summer on and off the field.
What is it like to see the players on this team or who once even lived with you to then go off and achieve their dream?
It's incredible, absolutely incredible. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and to know that you had a small part in it is everything.
I love that. With the exception of some small stipends, the league is a nonprofit and driven largely by volunteers. From the team presidents to the host families to those working the concession stand, it's what many say creates a core aspect of the league, community.
I love to see that. Now, what's he going to do without 5 TVs? My goodness.
I know.
Spoiled
It's
rotten.
all the sports
All right.
all at the same time. Yeah, he's got a good setup.
Love that story. Thank you, Emily. Appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to tell you about a new shopping trend that may seem harmless, but experts say could cause you some big problems. We're digging into so-called secret shopping and the impact that could have on your wallet and, perhaps more importantly, your relationship. Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning, we're taking a look at a growing trend that can take a toll on your budget and your relationship. It is called secret shopping. That's when partners hide big purchases from each other to avoid arguing over spending. NBC senior business correspondent Christine Romans joins us now with more on this. Christine, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. It might seem harmless. You pick something up for yourself at the store, you sneak the bags into the house before your partner can notice. But with inflation squeezing many family budgets, that once innocent kind of behavior could have real implications on both your wallet and your relationship. Shopping sprees have long been an American pastime.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
But as the prices of pretty much everything are on the rise, some shoppers are hiding their retail therapy from their significant others.
My husband found my secret stash in the linen closet.
A new article in the Wall Street Journal calls it stealth shopping and says it's on the rise, with more Americans hiding big purchases from their partners.
Hiding purchases means that something has gone very wrong before you ever swipe the credit card. It means you're not communicating effectively as a couple. It means you haven't created a vision of how you both want to spend your money.
One survey found, on average, secret spenders shell out nearly $475 behind their partners' backs. Another found nearly half of partnered Americans have hidden or lied about financial information to their significant other. Camilla Riley is a school teacher in Irving, Texas. She fills her summer days hunting for bargains, often hiding the evidence from her husband, Rostin.
Why are you sneaking packages into your house?
What?
I'm not teaching. And so to pass my time away, I'm on Amazon and ordering from Target. And my husband doesn't really like that much. So typically when the packages arrive, I have to go out, grab them, and sneak them into my closet.
Friends and family reacting to Camilla's social media post admitting her secret, with many saying they do the same thing.
I don't feel alone.
But in the Riley house, it turns out keeping purchases under wraps goes both ways.
What was the last thing you bought, Rostin, that you didn't tell her about?
Golf related.
Something golf related. There's always something golf related.
This so-called financial infidelity varies by generation. More than half of Gen Zers and millennials admit to doing it, while 44% of Gen X says they hide their hauls from their partners. Baby boomers are the least likely to keep their purchases from each other. But experts say your savings might not be the only thing that suffers.
Financial infidelity is absolutely devastating. And we have to remember that lying erodes trust, but lying about money destroys it.
Now, the Rileys laugh with each other about their secret spending. For them, it's more about exercising some independence inside the budget. The fact is, though, people have been hiding purchases from their partners and spouses forever. You can't just blame it on inflation. One survey found the most common explanation for why people do this. They want to maintain privacy, Joe, and control their own finances.
Okay, that makes sense. What kind of hits me is like Amazon now. It seems like it could be harder because you're going to catch it on the porch as opposed to back in the day. You just bring the bag in when you come in the house.
I know, right? With technology now, you can see all the purchases that are going on in the budget.
Exactly.
The problem happens when you're hiding them and you're hiding a lot of money, and now it's debt, and now you're blaming each other over credit card debt. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yep, most definitely. All right, Christine, thanks so much. Fascinating story. In the physically demanding world of ballet, the average dancer will retire in their early 30s because of the incredible stress on their body and their life. That's why it's so amazing that Herman Cornejo is celebrating a remarkable 25-year career with the American Ballet Theater and has no plans to stop. I recently sat down with him to discuss his prolific career and his outlook on the future. has been 25 years since Herman Cornejo joined ABT at the age of 18. Just 5 foot 6 inches tall, short by ballet standards, he defied the odds, quickly climbing the ranks and becoming a principal dancer after just 3 years. Today, at age 43, Cornejo is still soaring across this iconic stage. As you celebrate 25 years at ABT, do you love dancing as much now as you did when you started?
So much, and even more because now I don't have the pressure of showing off or looking for that promotion. Right now, every show, it's the show. My goals are shorter in the sense that my goal is the next performance, and so I enjoy it even more.
I love that you look at it through that lens. I know you were very young when you joined ABT, you were young when you became a soloist and then a principal dancer, and you did deal with some frustrations early on, right? Yeah. Because you were focused on the next promotion, or what were you focused on?
My frustration through the years was that I joined when it was full of stars in the company, and also my director at the moment, he preferred tall dancers, and so with my height I had to like knock on the door and say, please, can you give me the opportunity? But luckily, my dream came true.
You can't change your height, so how do you overcome some of those obstacles that you face?
Well, I think it was proving on stage how I could look. And sometimes it's not about your height, it's about proportions. And people tells me when I come out to sign programs, and they're like, oh my God, you're small. And on stage, I just looked much bigger. So I guess my dancing on stage, and that's where I feel comfortable, like my home is the stage.
You grew up in Argentina, right?
Yes, I did.
And how did you fall in love with dancing? Your sister's a dancer too, right?
My sister's a dancer. She started first. I started with ice skating in Argentina. Crazy.
Who knew?
Who knew? And then when I saw my sister in the studio, I just loved all the jumping and turnings happen, and I just loved it.
Your sister's also a professional dancer,
and my
right?
sister was a soloist here at ABT, and then she moved to Boston to become a principal dancer. We still dance together.
How much has that relationship meant to you?
It's everything, especially coming here to New York. I came here when I was 17 years old, and so having my sister with me was an amazing support.
You were recently in just a beautiful piece, Wolfworks, and Alessandra Ferri, who retired from ABT like nearly 20 years ago, she's now in her early 60s. You danced with her during that. What was that moment like?
It's incredible. It's a dream. It's a dream because she's the most iconic ballerina. What she gives to the audience, it's incredible, and I feel honored that she chose me to be her partner.
The fact that you two are up there together, dancing so beautifully, what's the message you think that sends?
It transcends age. When you find the right partner or the right thing to do, everything comes together. I feel it was a treat for the audience to have her back, and also for me at this point of my career to do the last show of this iconic performer.
At age 43, do you even think about retirement?
Not at all. No. Last night I performed Romeo and Juliet, and it just felt great. It's one of the hardest ballets to do. It requires a lot of stamina, physicality, acting, and I just finished the show, and I'm like this today, maybe 4 or 5 years from now.
Many years to go.
Yes.
ABT will celebrate Herman's 25-year anniversary tomorrow, Friday, with a special reception following the performance that evening.
So
Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, it is a topic that hits home for many viewers, including Savannah.
That's right. Up next, I'm going to take you inside my fertility journey, tell you some things you might not know about PCOS and egg and embryo freezing, and we're going to sit down with an expert to ask the big questions. Coming up next. Welcome back. Chances are you know someone who's frozen their eggs. Maybe you have, or your daughter or sister. At the very least, you've likely at least heard of the procedure aimed at preserving fertility for women typically in their 20s or 30s. More than 12,000 women go through the process each year, and even more families rely on the process of in vitro fertilization, which includes the hormone treatment to retrieve eggs. But what exactly does the process entail? How tough is it on the body? Well, I cannot speak from personal experience.
Just over a year after our wedding, my husband Alex and I are starting a journey familiar to many families.
Okay,
So,
over the course of 9 days, I did 22 shots at home.
Good job.
And at work.
Running off set to do this shot while we're in the middle of breaking news.
All to prep for an egg retrieval. But why worry about my fertility? I'm 32 years old and happily married. Well, you can learn a lot about your reproductive health from some simple testing any woman can ask for: a blood draw and an ultrasound. I met with Dr. Lucky Seacon of RMA of New York for my initial fertility consultation.
okay, so this is your right ovary.
We got some good news about how many eggs could potentially be retrieved.
So there's about 16 on this ovary, which is a really high number. That's great.
But also a red flag.
What you can see, it looks like you would potentially diagnose with PCOS. Yeah, it's based on 2 out of 3 of the following: having slightly irregular cycles, having polycystic bearing ovaries. So 2 out of 3 are already check.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a hormonal imbalance in the ovaries that can cause a wide range of symptoms, from irregular menstrual cycles to migraines to fertility issues. An estimated 5 million women in the U.S. have the condition, often difficult to definitively diagnose.
There's a real reason why this could make a real difference in our chance at having a family down the road.
Another factor to weigh when family planning: freezing eggs versus freezing embryos. A decision for my husband Alex and I that initially surprised us.
Wow, I guess that's an option for me. And we should talk about it. What are the pros? What are the cons?
Freezing embryos involves the same process as egg freezing, taking hormone shots to stimulate egg growth and then retrieving them. But then those eggs are fertilized with sperm.
The downside of egg freezing is you don't ultimately know how many of these eggs will thaw, fertilize successfully, and actually make it to the embryo stage. And only 60% of fertilized eggs are capable of turning into embryos. Embryos have so many cells that their thaw survival rate tends to be higher, around 98%.
With my new diagnosis, we decided embryos was the right path for us.
Just learning more about it, we got more comfortable and it made more sense for us.
My regimen started with 2 shots a day.
Good job.
Mixed at home and a blood drawn ultrasound every other day. Soon, it upped to 3 shots a day with monitoring every day.
These are them growing, getting bigger.
As the days wore on,
Every step. Straight to the ovaries. And bumping around on the subway train. Whew.
the side effects, made more severe by my PCOS, became quite apparent.
It is just a bloat that won't go away. There's some cute little bruises.
So when I got the news,
it's time for the retrieval in 2 days from now.
I was thrilled.
Thank you so much.
11 days after that first hormone shot, it was time for the retrieval, a minimally invasive procedure that uses an ultrasound to guide a needle to the ovaries. A suction device on the needle pulls out the mature eggs.
Your procedure itself is 15-20 minutes. Okay. Recovery is 45.
I said goodbye to my husband.
Good luck with your very easy portion of this.
Suited up.
Follow me in here, please.
And we were ready to roll.
It was a really straightforward procedure. It was really easy to access both ovaries.
Okay. I'm honestly pretty uncomfortable.
Let's get you home. I'm very proud of Savannah. In marriage, like, you're obviously thinking and doing things for your spouse, right? But this is kind of the first time we've both, more Savannah than me, had to do something for potentially a new family member.
I feel really happy and proud of myself and proud of us, and just like it was totally worth it. Very proud of my husband also for going on television to talk about all this. So we have Dr. Lucky Seacon in studio with us today to talk more about this process. She is a double board certified OBGYN at RMA of New York Fertility Clinic, and of course, my doctor as well. Dr. Seacon, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it so much. It's so great to have you. Let's talk about the attrition rate, because where we kind of ended in this process is very happy, very hopeful about our situation, but we were a little surprised. I mean, that drop-off rate from eggs to healthy embryos was over 60% for us, which I know is kind of fairly normal. Families go through a lot in this.
Yes, I think a lot of people don't realize how inefficient human reproduction is. And so there can be a lot of confusion, especially when you think about egg freezing and expectations about the fact that one egg does not make one baby. Not every egg is going to survive the thaw if you're starting with frozen eggs. The majority will, but you're going to lose some at that stage. Not every egg will fertilize. It's typically 70 to 80%. And of those that fertilize successfully, about 60% typically make it to the embryo stage And no one makes perfect embryos 100% of the time. Even in your 20s, 20 to 25% of embryos may have genetic imbalances that prevent it from becoming a healthy pregnancy. So you have to really counsel patients appropriately so that they understand and have realistic expectations about how many eggs they're starting with and what that might mean down the line.
We should talk about what's been in the news lately. The freezing embryos and eggs, the process has come under threat. Talk about why this is so important for families that are looking to grow their family.
Right. So when you freeze eggs, you're freezing potential. But when you're actually trying to help a patient get pregnant with IVF, you need to turn those eggs into embryos. And the reason this has come under threat is this idea of personhood, assigning a personhood to embryos, and not realizing that even when you get to the embryo stage, not every embryo is healthy. And even the healthy ones that are tested, because you can do genetic testing on embryos, not every single one of those will implant. So when I counseled you about where we landed and the number of embryos you got, even then I said, okay, based on how they look under the microscope and the test results, you know, they might have about a 60 to 70% chance each of actually implanting.
Yeah, and you knew that was a big conversation for me. I mean, it took me a while to make that decision as a person of faith, seeing a person who's very much in the news and seeing all that conversation, but you did counsel me so well. We only have like 30 seconds, but let's just touch on the PCOS of it and right. treatment options. You've been helping me through that.
Yes, so PCOS is extremely common. It affects about 10% of the population, and it's a condition that can predispose you to having irregular ovulation. And a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that they only ovulate one egg every cycle. And if you never know when that's going to happen, it can be really hard to time your attempt, and it can make trying to get pregnant even less efficient than it already is. So anytime someone has any sort of gynecologic issue that could predispose them to infertility, doing something like this as a backup plan in case you should ever need fertility treatment to build your family, it just gives you a really great head start and ensures that you will be successful.
Yeah, the way you kind of helped me understand it was I most likely have less chances to get pregnant a year. We don't know when those chances are, and we don't exactly know how many, which just makes it all tough. As you said, inefficient.
Exactly.
Dr. Segan, thank you for coming on today, and thank you for treating me. It's been such a joy getting to spend so much time with you.
Thank you so much, Savannah.
And clearly a conversation that so many families are having right now. So glad we could have it here. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
Happy birthday!
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.